Hey everyone, welcome to this slightly different video. Sorry for the poor lighting and sound, but we are on the road. We just played 2 gigs in Toronto, and I ended up with this guitar. I rented this guitar, and I'll tell you the story behind it, but this is a little impromptu, like real life review of the Taylor Academy 12. I don't even know all the specs on this thing. I'll flash them up on the screen, but I just want to tell you my experience with it. If this is something you're looking into, just from my perspective, how was sounds really nice. Anyway, so we have this fly gig from British Columbia to Toronto, Ontario, and I did not feel like bringing my guitar because there's one more thing to carry, and we're traveling with a toddler. There's enough stuff to carry like that. Chelsea brought her guitar, but I figured it'd be easier to just rent a guitar. So I stopped by Long McQuaid, and when I went in there, I told the guy what I was looking for, and I kind of panicked a little bit because the stuff he showed me was like all laminate guitars, with really kind of cheap electronics on it. I was like, okay, it'll work, but do you have anything else that I can use? And so he was like, yeah, I have something a little bit nicer. I was like, do you have any Taylors? Because I know they're pretty consistent, right? And he showed me this one. I was like, oh, thank God, something with a solid top. That's really all I care about is if a guitar has a solid top. All right, just got to Toronto. I don't have a guitar for this gig, so we're gonna rent one. Have to go into Long McQuaid and see what they have. Hopefully I don't get stuck with something terrible. Let's see.
All right.
I think we found one that works.
Yes. Taylor Academy 12E.
It sounds good, man. Nice and big sounding. Plays good. So as soon as I picked it up, I was like, okay, this will work. It's better than the other one that he showed me initially, thank God. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I just like a solid wood top because of the bass response you get. It's a little bit nicer, right? So I picked this up, and when I said I've never played one of the Academy series before. I played a lot of the 110s or 114s and 214s and things like that, and Chelsea has a GS Mini that I really like, but I thought this would be just kind of thin sounding, but I was extremely surprised. The first thing I was surprised about was the bass response and how full it was for a smaller body guitar. It's a little bit thinner. I don't know what the specs are, again I'll flash them up on the screen, but it is a concert style body, and it has laminated back and sides, Sapelli back and sides, but it has a solid Sitka spruce top, I believe, and the neck is a maple with an ebony fretboard. And it's funny because the initial impression I got when I strummed it was I don't know if you're familiar with the sound profile of like a Gibson Dove that has maple back and sides. That is the connotation I got from it. It's a lot of bass, kind of scooped mids, and then a lot of treble too. So I got the same kind of EQ curve from this, but less dramatic. The mids weren't as scooped. It was just a kind of a soft dip in the mids, and it was really cool sounding. I really liked it, and I think this is advertised as being for fingerstyle guitar, and that's what I was doing a lot this week. I was doing some strumming, but a lot of kind of accompaniment stuff for Chelsea's music. Anyways, I was really happy with the tone of it initially when I picked it up. I was like, oh cool, this will be great. And it wasn't too hard to play. I'm down tuned a full step, by the way, just in case you want to know for this sound purposes. But I got to our first gig, plugged it in, and it like the preamp on it, the electronics aren't anything special, but they're more than good enough. It sounded good. And I even had the sound guy come up to me afterwards and ask me, oh, what pickup do you have in there? I was like, oh, it's just the stock one or whatever comes on, the Taylor Academy Series 12E.
Sound check.
So that was a nice, little bit of nice feedback. Now I will tell you that I did not use the tuner on this. It comes with a tuner on it, but I didn't use it. I ended up using my TC Electronic Polytune just because I found that it worked a little bit better. So I would turn the volume down, tune, and then turn back up in between songs and things like that. Another thing that struck me immediately was, and I think it's just because it's a slightly shorter scale guitar. I thought that the string spacing was different on the nut, but I looked up my main guitar that I have, which is a Martin D16 GT, and it's the exact same string spacing. They advertise it as more narrow string spacing, but it's the same as a Martin D16. So in general, you know, steel string guitars are a little bit more narrow nut width than like classical guitars, for example. You know, so it's pretty standard nut width, maybe on the little slightly more narrow side, but it's the same as my Martin. So I was wrong. It wasn't more narrow, it was about the same. The string spacing back here, I'm not sure, maybe if I can find the specs on that, I'll flash it up here on the screen. So that might be what I was feeling, because I wasn't feeling it so much here on my fretting hand. I was feeling it with my kind of adjusting and calibrating my picking hand to the string spacing down here. So who knows, maybe it's just because it was just a shorter scale. One thing that I thought was kind of gimmicky about these guitars was this little bevel. I don't know, Taylor guitars, back when they started their like super boutique brand, R. Taylor, like super custom jobs from Taylor guitars, they had this bevel on here. It's like, oh, that's cool. It was kind of a prestige thing, but then they started coming out with them on here. They call it a comfort bevel, I think, or something like that. I thought it was going to be gimmicky, but I found it extremely comfortable, even to the point where it felt like the guitar was thinner than it actually was, just because my arm wasn't kicked out here from having the hard edge on it. So I really actually like it, and I was thinking to myself, well, because I don't know if you know or if you've been following, but I did something really stupid to my Martin. It was by accident. I nearly destroyed it, and I got it repaired. I'll show you a picture of it here. But ever since then, I'm being like, oh, this guitar has a kind of a short lifespan now. I'm gonna have to be thinking about what I'm getting. And I thought to myself, you know, if I had to buy one of these guitars, I think they're, I don't know, $7 US, 1,000 Canadian new. You know, I could pick up a used one for $4 or $5 US, something like that. I would be really happy with it. The bass response is awesome. If you don't like a mid-scooped guitar so much, this might not be for you. Like my Martin D16 GT is not mid-scooped at all. It has a lot of mids. Very mid forward, but this one is a slightly recessed mids, but I still like it. It's a kind of a contrast to that, you know, big Martin Dreadnought. And I would say if you're doing fingerstyle or really kind of strummy contemporary worship stuff or like really poppy stuff, this will be great. But if you need something that's a lot more mid forward for like folk or bluegrass stuff that needs to punch through and be really loud, you might want something like with mahogany back and sides, solid mahogany back and sides, you know, something like that, like a D16 and that in that vein. But that's not to say this guitar isn't loud. For the size of the body and the materials it's made of, I was really kind of shocked at how loud it was. Now, one thing that I did notice, and this is no big deal because I'm super picky about this, but I did notice that the nut slot on the high E and B strings are a little high, a little higher than they should be. And I noticed that when I play like a C chord, if I push down just a little bit too hard, since the nut was pretty high, it would play out of tune. So I had to really watch it, play with a soft touch. But that can be fixed without, you know, without much effort by a professional, if you just file your nut slots down too. But again, when I get a new acoustic guitar, that's usually one thing I check and kind of customize to whatever my quirky desires are. So I figured I'd just do this little video just because this is in a price range where I know a lot of people are thinking about, man, I really like a Taylor, but they're really expensive. If that's you and you've been thinking about it, and you're like, oh, well, this is just an Academy guitar, it's just something for students, I would encourage you not to have that mentality about it. Go play one. And I played a lot of, like I said, a lot of 114s and 214s, because that's what they have at like my local music store, right? And I wasn't missing anything necessarily when I was playing this one. One thing I wish I had a cutaway, because I have to get up higher on some stuff with Chelsea, so it surprised me during the gig. I was like, oh, I could barely reach it, and I almost screwed some things up. But that's neither here nor there. If you don't need a cutaway, that's great. This won't be an issue for you. But if you do need a cutaway, that might be something you want to consider too. All right, I know this video wasn't up to our normal standards for the YouTube channel. But thanks for watching. If you have any questions about this guitar or anything else guitar related, let us know in the comments below, or let us know your experience with the Taylor Academy series, just so you can help we can help people make good buying decisions about what guitars they want to get. And if you haven't already, go to guitarfam.com and create your complimentary account. You'll get access to the first module of all of our premium courses, and we'll be there to help you every step of the way as you go. But